welcome you all finally. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to Recruitment Masterminds, our weekly coaching session. A few little technical hitches this side, but hopefully now you are all in the room. It's Easter time, and we do have a number of people that have just let me know that, oh, Roy, I'd love to make the session, but not able to. So they're going to tune in. Hopefully you guys are listening into the recording of this now. Remember, on the recording, there is a question section in your dashboard to the right. So you can always write a question up. If you're watching the recording of this, it gets emailed to me, and then I'll come back to you if you've got any questions at all. So look, let's get straight into this. The subject of today's session is starting, what is the title? It's how to develop, a niche desk specialization from scratch. So it's how to start a brand new desk, a brand new specialization within your business, and this was the thing, because some of you I know are interested in starting up niche desks. Some of you actually could just do with a bit more strategy regarding new business development. So today's session, what I'm going to do is address a subject that actually will be useful to you in either situation, whether it's you starting a brand new desk. So I know that in your current situation, you're aiming to talk to a whole load of brand new people. So this will be really useful for you, Simon Hunt, and for many of you, I know that maybe on listening to the recording, you've got teams of people, small teams, large teams, whatever. You've got teams of people that actually, in terms of their new business development, struggle sometimes when you ask them, well, what's the strategy? What's the plan? Where are you heading with all of this? So that's why I developed today's session and wanted to kind of share some stuff with you. So okay, where do we start? Well, the first thing is maybe asking people that are in the room. Let me ask you a question. If I stepped into your office today and sat down with either yourself or a member of your team, and asked them the question, who are the top 15 to 20 prospects that you want to do business with over the next 12 months? So if I sat down with you or any member of your team and asked them, who are the 15 to 20 businesses, client prospects that you want to be doing business with by the end of this year, what kind of answers would I get back? So by all means, just type your answers in there. I want to talk about strategy, all right? So it's whether it's you, whether it's your team, is there a plan? Are there a group or a list of target prospects that you're intending to do business? Because my thought on this, while I'm waiting for you to answer, my thought is, if you set out with an intention that, this is what I want to achieve, these are the people that I want to be dealing with, these are the customers that in 12 months' time I'd like to be able to say are my customers. So these aren't existing businesses, these aren't your existing key accounts, though a lot of the strategy I'm going to give you today will be applicable to key accounts development as well, further penetration and getting more coverage across your key accounts. But I just want to know, have you got a list, target list in front of you that you would know just off the top of your, in fact, not off the top of your head, there is a plan or a strategy. It's like, these are the 15 clients, Roy, I want to be doing business with. Or again, if it was one of your consultants, do they have that list? Are you aware of that list? Okay, so Si, I've got a feedback from you. I've got a prospect list and I'm always growing it. Good. Si, do me a favor, just tell me, how many do you have? How many names do you have on that prospect list at any one time? Is it 100? Is it 15, 20, whatever? Just type that answer for me. Jonathan, if you can just think about it. I don't know whether it's for you or it's for members of your team, but is there a list of people that we'd say, yeah, actually there are 15 to 20 people that they're our targets for this year. These are the people that we want to be doing business with over the next 12 months. And whilst okay, brilliant. Wow, I'm loving that strategy. We've got a Heinz list. I love that. Si, I hope you can see these comments as well. Again, just let me know. We've got a Heinz list of 57 for each desk, and that's broken down into 3 leagues of 19. Okay, that's an interesting one. So we've got, I'm presuming, a Premier League and a, I don't know, first division or second division or whatever it is. Circa 75 people, 40 companies. Good. Okay. So, Si, you've got your 40 companies list. Jonathan, each desk has got a list of 57, and then we've got a, I'm presuming a Premier League, second league, and a third league. Premier League are the, top prospect, top target prospects, etc. So good. All right. So look, I've got something to play with here. Yeah. Okay. Good. So I've got something to play with here. The first thing I'm going to tell you two is congratulations. Okay, anybody else that's listening to this recording, or Graham, if you have got on and you're able to listen to this, the fact that these guys have got a list somewhere, okay, a list somewhere that our intention is we're going to be doing business. You are, not 90% there. I'd love to give you that, but you're well down the road, because too many recruitment business owners that I go into, I ask them this same question: who do you want to be doing business with? And they go, oh, that's a really good question, and they'll just pluck it off of, out of the sky. Oh, here's a couple of companies that we'd like to. That's not a strategy. That's a wish. And I'm all for dreams and everything else, but I like to be a bit more strategic about the business that I want to be doing, and who I want to be doing it with. So I'm really pleased actually that you two are. Anyone who's listening to the recording, if you haven't done this, if you're not actively thinking about who you want to be doing business with over the next 12 months, then you need to cop on. You need to get you or your teams doing this. So look, here's the steps. I would say to you, first of all, identify. These guys have got their Jonathan, you've got your 57 list and leagues of 19. That's probably in fact, that's exactly how I would ask you to do it. Si, you've got 40 companies in there. That's pretty good. And I know that, Si, you're in the process of building your business, so 40 is not a bad place to start. Ordinarily, what I would advise any consultant to do, any consultant, any senior consultant, any business owners to do, is to identify a list of 15 to 20 client prospects that you want to be doing business with over the next 12 months. Now, if your guys are key account managers, they should have 15 to 20 or 10 to 15, whatever it is, key accounts that what they're looking to do is service and engage with those 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 companies over the next 12 months. So use the same strategy, whether it's a brand new desk specialization, whether it's key account development, same strategy, 15 to 20 is there. Jonathan, the fact that you've got 3 leagues, I love that. I really love that. So I'm presuming we put a lot more effort into the top tier of 19, and then some effort, not necessarily equal effort, but some effort into the second league, and then the others are on our list. And I'm presuming, in terms of new business, that as somebody goes from a prospect to a client, what we're trying to do is bring somebody up from those lower leagues to plug the gap. So if there's someone in the second league, we bring them up. Someone in the third league, we bring them up. So I'm presuming that's the way that you guys would do it. So so look, once we've got this thing, this session that I'm doing with you, by the way, I have done with a number of clients and a couple of masterminds actually that were asking me for this exact session. It's like, Roy, we just seem to, there's no rhyme or reason to our new business development or to starting a brand new desk. How do we do it? And so what I'm giving you today is exactly what I would teach and train in this particular subject. So look, we've got this list, and that's great, but you beat me to it. Good. Okay. Good. So, Jonathan, sorry, I'm good. I'm glad we're on the same page. The next thing is, it's one thing having a list, but it's actually a second thing or a bigger thing on how you work that list and how you develop that list. And in my Juice days, I did a survey of client companies. I asked clients. I'll try and find that survey somewhere and give it to you, because and send it to you, sorry, as a PDF or stick it up on the forum or whatever, because we asked lots of client decision makers, what do they think of recruitment businesses? You can imagine some of the answers. It was pretty damning. It's interesting actually, Jonathan, Si's asking, do you have different strategies for the 3 leagues? So I'll let you guys kind of tick away on that while I speak as well. So that's a good, really, really good point there. Where was I? Don't answer that question. I'm going to bring it back. Hold on a second. Don't know. Okay, so we've got our 15 to 20 client prospects or target prospects that we want to be doing business with. The next thing that I tend to do is I ask people, I was talking about that survey. I'm going to send you that survey. One of the biggest things that came from it, I can't remember how many people we surveyed, but lots and lots of different clients. What do you think about recruitment businesses? What do you like about recruitment businesses? What do you not like about recruitment? What really pisses you off about recruitment companies? And the feedback that we got was, I mean, awesome, damning in certain aspects, but actually really, really educational, because just the stats that came through, the information that came through was brilliant. And we were able to, position the new business training that we did along the lines of what clients want, making the client centric rather than we're a recruitment business, this is how we do new business. So it was really useful. But look, one of the most interesting things that came through from that survey that we did was, what do you hate about people that phone you up? What do you hate about recruitment businesses phoning you up and pitching you for new business? The biggest thing, I'm doing this from the top of my head, but the biggest thing was we can't stand recruiters that call us and know nothing about our business. We can't stand recruitment companies, recruitment consultants that phone us or contact us and know nothing about us. It's almost like the biggest disrespect that you can do to somebody. Because look, let's just break it down. What you're trying to say to somebody is, look, we want to do business with you. And the reason we want to do business, we thought about it. We've researched you. We know the kind of company that you are. We know what you do, the challenges that you face, and where you're going. And what we want to do is we want to align with companies like you, because we've got services and products and our style, our ethos really suits what you're trying to do. We can add value to you. But if you don't know anything about that business, how can you make that? Why would you make that call? Because if you don't know anything about them, then basically all you're doing is just that scattergun approach. We're going to call as many companies as possible, and we're going to tell those companies what we do, and hopefully 1 or 2 of those will like what we do and decide to engage with us. That's not a strategic approach to new business development. So the biggest thing that came back from that survey is, please know something about our business before you contact us. Now look, this is what I expect. When I go into a recruitment business and I ask them, who are your top 15, 20 prospects over the next 12 months you want to deal with, they give me that list. I then say to them, okay, give me the information, bring me the information that you've got on each of those 15 to 20 prospects. Now again, I'm going to ask you guys the question, Jonathan and Si, I know Si, it's your list, etc. And Si, in answering the question, maybe think about your last recruitment business as well. If I sat down with any one of your team, Jonathan, or any one of your old team, Si, and said to them, look, what do you know about those 15 to 20? What do you know about that top 19, Jonathan? What do you know, Si, about the 40 companies or whatever? What would you show me? And you guys know I'm pretty old-fashioned with this, that people can say, well, I've got it all on the database, right? I've got it all on our recruitment software. By the way, remind me about recruitment software. I've got an announcement to make right at the end of today that'll be good for you guys, hopefully for some of you. But what would you show me? Is it a digital file? Is it just all on the computer and stuff? What do you know about those target companies that you are targeting? What could you tell me about them? What could you show me? Because I'm like I say, I'm old school, so I like stuff that I can see and feel. And I'm trying to pick up a folder here to show you. I'm into, sorry, what a mess on my desk. I'm into, paper, folders, files, etc. And I know I get accused of being old-fashioned, but I'll be honest with you, in terms of being able to monitor and, that old adage, it's like expect what you inspect. Rather than saying to a consultant, like, well, what do you know about a client? They just reel off some facts at me. It's like, well, you could know those and you could have those in your head anyway. But what have you collected? What have you, got together and gathered? And I call that, your client dossier. What do you have in your client dossier that you can show me? So I'd like to ask you guys that question. Si, if I came and sat at your desk right now and you showed me those 40 companies, what physical evidence could you show me that you've got it? So I can see your answers right up there now, so that's good. Jonathan, same question to you. Let's have a look. Good, okay, all right. So Si, in the past they would have had database notes, good. Understand the mission statement, have press clippings, and building out org chart. And speaking to ex-employees from CV databases. Brilliant strategy. Well done, Si. And presumably, Si, they'd have that as physical. You've said they're press clippings, building out the org chart. The org chart would be a physical thing, a visual thing that they'll be able to show me, or show me as an attachment even on the database. It doesn't matter. But I'm looking for tangible evidence that somebody is really, it's not just clever people that can reel off facts about Coca-Cola or the BBC or Sky or whatever. As I've said it, size put down. Right now, mainly in my head, need to operate as was, point tag. Si, this isn't a beat you up session, I can tell you. Guys, for both of you, this is one of those do as I say rather than do as I do. I have to practice what I preach, and I do. I come away from these sessions thinking, oh, okay, I've given it to them. Physical electronic mix, well done, all right. I come off these sessions thinking, okay, I've now, wrapped them over the knuckles and told them best practice, but am I doing that? And the answer actually on Recruitment Masterminds is yes, I am. It's funny because I've gone back to an old filing cabinet. You can't see it in my in your field of vision here, but I've got a filing cabinet that's got each of the masterminds, and I've got things in there. In fact, I'll tell you what those things are in a minute. Let me just see Jonathan's. We track what job titles they're looking for, rough numbers. We also run a competitor file. Brilliant. So when talking to them, we can relate to where they are as an employer in that market. Good. For the record, we're trying to go paperless. All right, Jonathan, you stay paperless. That's fine. It's that thing that as you get bigger, and actually you're right. If you may end up managing people, all of us, from remote locations. So if it can be digital, it's fine. But it's really important that there is a file or a folder system, if it is digital, where again you can see physical evidence of it. So it doesn't need to be printed out. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm old-fashioned, so I like to see, tangible folders, etc. But if you've got a folder system where, I don't know, you're notified every time something is updated, because otherwise, if I showed you my folder system, my digital folder system, it's just loads of folders. Do I know what's in each one? No. So look, I'm not going to, paperless is great as it retains in-house should they leave. Yeah, but actually, you're right, guys, you really are right. The thing that I suppose what I'm trying to achieve can be achieved digitally, of course it can. And it may just be, it's like my systems are, not up for coping with it or whatever. But if it's a digital system, I just want to ensure that you guys are able to get the kind of detail that I'm going to talk to you about now. So let's get into that, right? So the client dossier on each company. Si, you gave us some really good examples of stuff that you would have in there. Let's have a look. Database notes. Okay, brilliant. So if we've had any kind of contact with these client companies, sorry, these prospect clients, we should be putting that detail, it should be into the database, or it should be as an attachment into a folder or whatever. I've just lost my Track, yep, good. Understand the mission statement. Again, if the mission statement is attached to their digital file or printed off and put into their folder, that's fine. Press clippings, again, if you can attach them, if digitally, or if they're just physically cut out and put in, that's great. And building out the org chart, okay, and speaking to ex-employees from CV databases. So again, those notes attached to whatever system you've got. Let me just have a look at your latest. Thanks for the support side. Good, okay. It's a real love fest going on between us all today, which is really, really good. Okay, we chat with you. Right, what else can I put in there? Okay, let me tell you what I look for in any kind of client dossier. So if I was sitting down with your guys, if they could show it to me in a digital format, I don't really care. Just something they can show me, evidence that they have got this information and that it's not just sitting in a digital folder. They are conscious of it. They're they're reviewing it. On a regular basis and adding to it as well. This is a work in progress. It's not it's done, let's move on. It's a work in progress. So look, the first thing I'd say to you is for both of you guys, on your Jonathan, on your Premier League numbers, so on the 20, if you want to do it across the 3 leagues, that's fine. I would encourage each of your staff members to, at the very, very, very least, cut and paste the About Us section from those client prospects websites and attach it to their file. Now, I know in recruitment software best practice, that's what they would encourage you to do. The Bullhorns and the Bond Adapts and all those guys, they'd say to you, look, in the client prospect, just cut and paste the About Us from the client's prospect website and put it into the About section of that client. Jonathan, we just engaged with IDB ProNet. This is the capacity of caudal files. Brilliant. Seriously recommend. Okay, cool. And I'd want to talk to you about that actually, because again, on the not an e-digital file needs to be open for all. If you can attach docs to your recruitment system, all the better. All the better. Okay, I'll come back to that. Right, so the first thing I'm going to ask is, do they have that information? It's really, really basic stuff. So, I would suggest on the 57, at the very least, any one of those staff members, Jonathan, should have that information. So, if I pulled up a record or you ran a report, you should be able to see, actually, that field has been completed for each of those prospects. It's the very, very least that they could do. What else am I looking for? Again, work in progress, not something I'd expect on day one. So on your digital, not a need digital file needs to be open for all. If you can attach docs to your recruitment system, all the better. Yep. If you can attach them to them, all the better. Family tree, organograms, what did you call it? An org chart, Si. Absolutely, and again, this is a work in progress. So if you can kind of find some family tree or org chart software where you can add sections in and you can add departments and heads and you can show blanks where you haven't got the name or you may have a job title and not the name, whatever it is. Something where, again, any stage, at any particular time, on my next call. Good, okay, sorry, typo, make sure everything that is stored, it must be on a shared drive or recruitment system, absolutely. Guys, just to let you know as well, I know we've mentioned recruitment software. At the moment, excuse me, I've switched all of my stuff over about 6 months ago to Google Drive. And I've used loads of different things in the past. I've used, what was the last one that we used? A big one. Dropbox. And I still use Dropbox for sharing documents for people outside our business, but Google Drive, I've had a physical, I had a server here, a network drive that everything was loaded onto and we could dial into. Rubbish. All that backing it up and security and all that kind of stuff. Now I've just got everything on the cloud, so much easier. So yeah, and it's shared. I have shared permissions with people in my business and people outside my business. I can share folders. It's a great way to do it. Good. And database wise, I use High Rise, okay, High Rise. I know I've spoken about them before. 37 Signals. They do collaboration software and database software and etc. But it's not recruitment specific. Okay, so this client dossier we're talking about it, the about us, the family trees, making sure that you can update that. Copies of job adverts. Now, I don't expect your people to be constantly, looking at ads and clipping them and attaching them or copying them and pasting them. But if you guys do have administrators, you can actually, whether you've got administrators, whether you're doing administration for yourself or whether your consultants are doing administration for themselves, they can set up Google Alerts, or I know in the relevant software that you've got, RDP Pro, I'm not sure about, Jonathan, but I know in Bullhorn you can set up alerts that every time a client or a client prospect advertises a position, that position, just doing something, should have done it years ago, yeah. What, Google Drive? I use a fully hosted Microsoft access to the browser, happy to pass detail anyone wants them. Thanks, Si. I might actually have a look at that. I did have that actually. Yeah. Okay. It's Microsoft's version, isn't it, of Microsoft on the cloud or whatever it is. Excuse me. Copies of job adverts. Yeah, you can set up Google Alerts, which are really good, and there's lots of other different specific scraper tools that will give you job alerts if one of your clients posts a vacancy on their own internal website, or the Google Alert I like because it will alert if you can do it on title, you can do it on company, you can do it on everything. But if on my prospects, I would do it on the client company, so that any time they are advertising jobs, I get alerted of that. Also, I would encourage you, any news on that company, so every time Coca-Cola is mentioned, I have a Google alert set up for Coca-Cola, and there may be specific regions, territories, so I can write myself a little string within Google Alerts that will give me that information. What else? Okay, other things I want in the dossier: notes from any previous work that we've done. Si, you mentioned that. LinkedIn profiles of each of my main targets. So Si made the point, he's got 40 companies, but he's got 70 contacts within those 40 companies that he's got some kind of strategy for dealing with. So, what at the very least I like to do is, again, some software, I'm sure Jonathan RDP Pro's got this, some software's got it linked to, forgive the pun, linked to LinkedIn, so that as you're looking at the record, their LinkedIn profile is alongside it, or you can click a tab to get their LinkedIn profile. Brilliant. If you've got that, it's a really, really good thing. Sorry, good. No, it's a full network access, so it basically means I have full. That's brilliant, actually. Is there a charge for Google Alerts? Jonathan, no, there isn't. So I love Google, man. It's like, well, I love Google right now. I never know these things. It's like all of a sudden, things that are free suddenly get charged. So, yeah, at the moment, there isn't a charge. And it's brilliant, man. You can set up as many Google Alerts as you like. The other thing about Google Alerts is you can get them, because you guys know I've got my private email address for you, and then I've got my generic email address for anybody else that wants to contact me. If you put too many, and I used to have loads of Google Alerts, and that just meant that my inbox was just being constantly filled up with loads of different things. So I created an email account where all of my Google Alerts goes into. Jonathan, for you, where you've got thank you, gives you real-time LinkedIn profiles, good. If you've got staff members, then maybe they set up their own Google Alerts, and then that information is maybe posted straight into the client prospect record, potentially. At the very least, it goes to that recruiter, and then they can decide to cut and paste and do whatever they want to do. Okay. Google Alerts we talked about. Here's the deal, right? You guys know I used to do retained search, retained executive search, and people said, Roy, how did you win those assignments? I've got to say to you, I knew more about my client companies than my competitors did. So, what I'm telling you now is exactly what I used to do for those companies. It's exactly how I train my my senior recruiter, actually all of my recruiters, to operate as well. Know as much as possible about your clients, but know even more about your prospects. You need to impress them that you do know about them. So one of the things that I used to do, and I would encourage you guys to do, it works for larger companies, I appreciate that. and it works for private companies rather than government, ministries, etc. But the one thing that I used to do was I used to contact them and those companies and ask for a press pack. Okay, a press pack or a PR folder, or I'd even speak to their marketing department and say, look, if you've got any marketing information that you guys send out, either to press or to potential investors, I'll come back to that one in a minute. But big companies, large companies, companies that I was targeting specifically, I would get that information back, and it's like they would, there'd be so much information in there, the company history, news, current articles that they've been quoted on, loads and loads of different things. It's a brilliant thing to request of that size of company, a press pack. Do you have a press pack or a PR folder or a marketing pack that you send out? The other thing I would ask for is an investor pack or an investor profile, because any of these companies that are interested, they're publicly listed, they're always interested in selling themselves to people that want to invest in their business. So there's generally a lot of information available to investors. They may send you to a separate website. There may be an investor pack that they can send out. And here's the one thing, without being rude, was this before the web? Is that on the press pack? Yeah, actually, Jonathan, it was before the web. Without being rude, Jonathan, you're not rude. That's fine. I know I'm old. But you know what? If you could get it on the web, then that's great. But it's interesting because there is still information out there that those larger companies will send out to you. You'd be amazed. So, I don't know who your client list is at the moment, but maybe getting your people to focus in on just one of those companies today, calling those companies and saying, look, is there a press pack that you guys normally send out? And they will do. Okay, they really will do. Companies that are looking to engage with larger companies, they are told specifically, any of the big, I used to recruit, for the BBC and Disney and Coca-Cola and et al. And they would have very, very specific pmslclientname.com, it's all there. Si, just explain that one to me if you can, just write up a further kind of explanation, it's all there. Where was I? Yeah, look, if it's there on the web, great. I would say to you, try and find it on the web, but another great reason to speak to client companies as well, just get it. All right, is there a press pack? Is there an investor pack? The one other thing that I used to do is I used to buy a share, or a couple of shares in the companies that I wanted to do business with. And that's something my competitors weren't doing at that particular time. So by buying shares, I used to have a small account. I didn't used to trade or anything like that. I just used to purchase shares in any business that I was interested in, either as a competitor or even as a source, because as an investor I would receive communications from that company about what was going on. I'd also be invited very often on the larger ones to 20 investor meetings or annual general meetings, etc. Just really, really good for me to be aware. Now, again, if I've got 15 to 20 companies, I may not go to all of those meetings. I may not attend all of the AGMs, but on the ones I want to, sorry, I was laughing with John, it can always be found on the web, but yes, I will call and get press back. I know you guys are ribbing me about my old schoolness. That's what I should put down here, director of old schoolness rather than awesomeness. But and you guys are right. Maybe it's my throwback to that physical thing that I like to receive information. The great thing about the press packs was they used to post it to me, and of course I would have everything there. There'd be like the chairman's statement and the annual accounts would be sent out to me. I'm sure now they don't do that. I'm sure it's an email thing or even a shared folder or whatever. But there was something quite satisfying about getting that physical information through. The other thing was I would use that information. If ever I was interviewing candidates, I would bring physically any information I had on the client company that I was dealing with. Again, yes, that information I could have photocopied and just handed it to them, or yes, I could email attachments to them. But there is something quite, I don't know, there's something to retroness. Thank you, Jonathan. I love that. Actually, I really like that. There's a director of retroness. There is something, I think, quite I don't know, just satisfying or whatever, just being able to show. And I think I might have spoken to you guys about it before. It's thud factor. And in the executive search circles, it's something that's used a lot. You know, we would call it fluff, but they would say that going in and talking to somebody and winning business, you know, 20, 30,000 retained searches, the client wants to feel, even if it's fluff, the client wants to feel that there's substantial stuff behind their assignment. And I will talk about this on another. Sorry, it's all in my. For you guys are really, really going to town. It's all in my Rolodex. Yep, absolutely. Now I'm going to carry on with this. Right, okay. Google Alerts, buy a share, press pack. We've done that one. Final thing, right? Final thing on this, and I'll move back off of my my Rolodex. I haven't got a Rolodex, all right? I never had a Rolodex. I used to have index cards, probably the same thing. Index cards in little boxes that I daren't go away on holiday. Jonathan, you know this guy really, really well from your meeting at the Recruitment Masterminds live event. I want to mention him here again and mention his company. Michael Moonsinger from Glover Daniels is absolutely brilliant. I'm a fan, and anyone who knows me knows that I've known Michael for a number of years. We worked together. Not together, but we work for the same company, Corporate Services Group PLC, £350 million recruitment group, and so, Michael was in another division, but I was introduced to him and I found him to be very, very charming, and not only charming, one of the sharpest guys working in that group that I worked in. And he and I have remained in touch ever since. Now, the reason why I bring Michael up here is Michael's company, Glover Daniels Research, based in Sri Lanka. What an amazing team. So I'm not going to, I'm not pitching this here at all. Michael does that so much better than I would. The thing I will tell you is that Michael's company can do a whole range of things. So traditionally, recruitment businesses and executive search firms use Michael's teams to research and find candidates. So they can source candidates, they can tee them up, they can have the first conversation, they can verify information, they can give you a short list or a long list, they can do all these different services. But the other thing that I've seen companies use Glover Daniels for is business intelligence. So if I was researching a market and I was maybe a solo recruiter, and maybe I didn't have the time to do the legwork and the research, etc., I could engage Michael's team, Glover Daniels, to map out an industry or a sector for me. So look, if it's something you're interested in, Glover Daniels is one company. There are lots of companies that will be able to do that. The reason I mentioned Glover Daniels is I know Michael, I know the quality of his work. I don't know the quality of work of others. So I'm sure there are some great ones out there. I just like to stick to people that I know and are recommended to me. So I've just seen, when I started in IT recruitment, I had a filing cabinet, no computer, 2 pegs and a fax machine. So I shouldn't be taking the mic. Abso-bloody-lutely. You had Tipex, right? Wow. I do remember fax machines coming in for the first time. I told you guys, freaked me out completely. I was just, I'll tell you about that one another time, but it was mad. Okay, so look, Glover Daniels, the reason why, again, I mentioned him is I spoke to Michael following that event, and he wants to do something for the masterminds. He's offered us substantial discount off of his research services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post up in the forum some contact details for Michael and encourage anybody. He's a good guy. He's worth talking to. Anything, whether it's research, whether it's market sector mapping out, whether it's I don't know, teeing up people for you guys to call on a long list or a short list, executive, whatever it is, speak to Michael. He's a really, really good guy. Jonathan, I know you spent some time talking to him, you and Camilla, and I know that you guys got on. He speaks really highly of you. So Okay, so we've got this list. We've now got the digital client dossier. See, I am coming over to from the dark side into the age of Aquarius. And now what? Okay, so it's one thing having your list. It's second thing knowing something about those businesses. Now what? Well, the final piece of this jigsaw, and after this, I think we'll try and I don't know, wrap up. Is you need to have a consistent plan of contact, a consistent will be interesting one man, but yeah, it's very good actually, really good. Si, in fact, Si, what I'll do is I'll send you his contact details directly after this session. Okay, you'll love him. He's a great guy, and he's actually really generous in terms of his time and expertise. Jonathan, I can concur. He's a really, in recruitment there are so many bullshitters. Forgive the profanity. There are so many people that talk a good game and actually don't deliver. Michael is he's not one of those. He actually talks a good game, but he delivers an even better game. So he over exceeds expectations, and that's, I can't give him a more glowing reference than that. Okay, so look, this plan of activity, most people I know, most recruiters I know, they'll hear no from their first contact, and then that'll be it. They won't even bother calling again. So they'll phone up and, I don't know, standard thing. Hi, we're calling from XYZ Recruitment. Oh no, we haven't got any needs at the moment, or we've got a preferred suppliers list, or we're not recruiting right now, or we've had a bad experience. So they'll hear that first objection, and many, not most, many will just give up off that first obstruction or that first roadblock. Now, if they're really good, they'll make a second call, okay? But again, I know recruiters that if they don't get him drunk, as he'll make a call to you. Wow, Jonathan, I'm not even sure I want to know that story. Okay, as he'll make a call to your daughter. Right, okay. Oh, was he phoning her? Because I think it was her birthday around about the same time, if I remember correctly. Okay. So yeah, where were we? So back to so recruiters will make a call and hear an objection, give up, or the good ones will make another call and hear an objection and then they might give up. Really good ones will make a third call and then maybe give up. The stats, right? I even started to do a little bit of research before I came on to this particular thing, because I used to say, I know it takes, you need to hear 5 no's before you hear a yes. The current stat that I found was 8 conversations, 8 touches before companies will do business with you, and that's the average. Now, brilliant. Look, and if you've got to think about recruiters, we're human, right? And human nature is we don't embrace negativity. If we hear no or rejection, we tend to kind of shy away from it. There are some people that are just psychotic, that will move towards rejection. And actually, you know what, some of those make great recruiters as well. But what you need to do is have a system of contacting. So whether that's you or whether you're managing a team, a system that gently encourages, persuades, is set up so that there is a constant contact of activity. And I would say to you, the bare minimum is to set up a minimum of 12 contacts, 12 touches that you will do with that client prospect, that contact within a client, at least 12 touches, all right? Now, those 12 touches don't need to be 12 calls. I'd like them to be, but again, I'm the director of Retroness. They don't have to be 12 calls. They could be 12 touches. They could be 12 things that you send to them. They could be 12 calls that you make. They could be 12 invites that you send. My advice is mixing up the types of activities that you build into this, this 12 touch model. And it's consistent, all right? Because otherwise, what you'll find is your consultants might put together a list of 15 to 20 contacts. They hear no 1 or 2 times from that company, and even the company really bitches them out. It's like, oh, get lost. We've got our preferred suppliers. Don't ever contact us again. And you know, I know, having been faced that myself, it's easier to give up. It's easier just to mark on the database, do not contact. You know, they have a PSL, really strict PSL, and they're not interested in any agencies. And you know, I remember what that was like. If I saw that on the file, on the database, and actually I did have a database as well, believe it or not. So if I saw that on the database, it would be like, oh, okay, don't call these, because these guys are a hassle. I know my colleagues have tried to ring them, they've been told no to PSL, and you just move on to the path of least resistance. This system is actually to encourage that, to encourage the opposite of that. They should be relentless. I think we should be going for 12 touches, and if we don't get a bite of the cherry within those 12 touches, then maybe we move them onto a different contact cycle. Brilliant. Roy, do you have a general rule of thumb how far apart these 12 touches be? Good question. Okay, thank you. So it depends on marketplaces. So, for example, some of the members have got office secretarial administration, you know, more agency type, and I know that those companies, I would say to them, it could be 12 weeks. All right, so a weekly contact. Most businesses, most mid-management for executive search, or you know, higher levels or whatever, I would recommend a minimum of once a month. So those 12 touches could be over a 12-month period. So the general rule of thumb is agency 12 weeks. John, my picture is black or black and white, and Roy's holding a 1940s microphone. I haven't got my mic, it's up there, and actually it does look like a 1940s one. You're like, hello and welcome to the BBC. Guys, you're cracking me up now, and I need to get this finished because I've got children at home starving and waiting for lunch. Right. Si, you asked a question. Do you have a general rule of thumb how part? Okay, so we've done the 12 touches. Now, what could those 12 touches be? Okay, I'm going to give you a list of ones that I would suggest to you, but I would say to you, Si, get your thinking hat on. Jonathan, get your team on this and just brainstorm it. People listening to the recording of this, if you've got a team, get it as a team activity. What could we do over a 12-month or a 12-week period that's just different? You know, different things that we could do that really try and engage with these client prospects. And because it's not just about, you know, let's just badger them with calls. Hi, got any vacancies? No. Okay, next month. Hi, got any vacancies? No, next month. That would be just stupid. That would be insane to do that. So you have to mix up the activity. Things that you could do, right? So classic things, salary surveys, right? Seminars or webinars. I was going to say like this one, but maybe not. But, you know, inviting clients to a webinar that you put on a regular basis is not a bad thing to do. You know, particularly with I was going to say with software like this, but you know, GoToWebinar, WebEx, Google Hangouts. You know, this is a really, really good. If you don't mind video, Google Plus or Google Hangouts is a really good way to do it. If you're not comfortable about hosting something, you know, and it's on camera, then doing a slide presentation in something like GoToWebinar, which are our early ones, or WebEx, is a really, really good way to engage with people. Make them specialist subjects. Get guest speakers onto it that would really engage with your clients, and then do this, right? Jonathan, you've got a good point. We only have 6 touches, Brent, before we move them up or down the league. I think 12 is a better number. You know, thing is, what we're hoping is within the 12 they are going to move up, because our ultimate aim with all of this is to engage with them, and whether that's a meeting, whether it's a new requirement, whether it's I don't know, a invitation to tender for their peer, whatever it is, it's like we need to move them towards that activity. And I would recommend that a minimum of 12 touches is a good place to go. And if we don't move them within that 12, think again. You know, review it. I would encourage you to review after every 4 touches, every 4. Actually, I would ask you to review it every month. If you've got team members, really, really good thing to do is you know, get them to review. I was hoping to interview a key thinker in my sector and video. I think that look, please do, and I'll help you. All right, I really will help you. think we'll have to stand at the plate of the national. Jonathan, you are really old. If you remember that, yeah, I remember that, going to the cinema and the national or theatres and having the national anthem play. Still does actually in Thailand. I was freaked out. I'm going to ignore these now. John, waiting to see the text. You two are like a comedy double act, Morecambe and Myers, Anton Deck. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to keep going with my things because we are going to get finished on this. So seminars, webinars, email, industry news. Mix it up as well. I will tell you, email obviously is the is the preferred contact du jour. But mail, believe it or not, even if it's old-fashioned, is so unique now that posting something physical to somebody, there I go again, as you know, video and we send video referrals, it definitely works, you're right. But you know what, Jonathan, mix it up. So, send some stuff to them. Mail, industry news, salary, salary information or legislation changes that are coming good. Guys, run a competition. I know it sounds really, it's like, oh, is that a bit cheesy or whatever? You'd be amazed. You'll be really, really amazed. I've run competitions before and put prizes up, Kindle Fires or iPads or whatever. They don't need to be masses of things, and don't just offer, oh, well, run this competition and we'll give you a free search or anything like that. It's just a bit wrong. Put prizes in and people will do it. You need to find the level within there, but competitions are a really good thing to do. Here's my favorite one of all, and obviously I want to see these peppered throughout the 12 touches, but market a candidate. It's the #1 business generation strategy for recruiters worldwide. We just can't beat it, all right? Now, Jonathan's got some really good tools in terms of the video and video referrals. I'm going to post his we send a physical moment once a month. Brilliant. Okay, you're ahead of the curve. The marketing a candidate, that call is an essential call, and it's one that, as we get more and more experience, we kind of think, oh, they're a bit uncomfortable, and what if they say no and everything else? You just have to do them, because the client prospects that I talked to for that Juice survey, it was really interesting because they said, even if we have a PSL, we will still break that PSL for a great candidate. So that clients were saying to us, we break the PSL if somebody has got a good candidate. So there's an open invitation. We should be calling. So, and they don't give a staff who you are, where you're based, whether you're working from your back bedroom or whether you are, one of the big boys, major conglomerate. They don't care. What they care about is their business. What they care about is the value that a great candidate will bring to their business. So market candidates. Placement broadcast letter. I'm going to run through these ones really quick and maybe post them up in the discussion afterwards as well. Placement broadcast letter. I know of one search firm in the States that every single time he makes a placement, he sends a letter or an email to all of his client prospects, so all the people that aren't doing business with him, and it's a brag, all right? It's a brag email. It just says, look, just wanted to let you know we've recently placed head of communications at XRZ Company, Inc., and that's it. And they send this out every time. In fact, I think he does it once a month rather than every time he makes a placement. We've placed the following people in these companies. Now, I asked him, I said, doesn't it piss people off? He said, oh yeah, it does. It really pisses them off. He said, we get phone calls, we get emails saying, look, just take us off your email list. You keep emailing us. But his point to me was that at least somebody was calling, or at least somebody was engaging with him. And if he could get on the phone for them, Max Headroom. I love Max Headroom. Anyway, back to this. Right, you guys are just trying to put me off now, and I know that. I know what you're doing, right? Placement broadcast letter. It's a really good thing. What he said to me was, he sends these things out. He gets at least 2 other bites of the cherry from everyone that he sends out. What I mean by that is he'll have at least 2 people that will come back and go, actually, we do have a position, or tell me more about this position that you've just placed, or the candidate you've just placed. So he thinks it's a great strategy, and I would agree with him. It just puts your brand out there with people that you want to be doing business with. It's a really good thing to do. Invite client companies to, or prospect companies to, industry events. If you're going out to a show, spitting image. If you're going out to a show, a conference, an event, tell people and invite them to join you there. You know, if it's a paid ticket and you can pick up, you know, the person's ticket, then do that. Say, look, I'd love you to join me. Come as my guest. If you can negotiate with whoever the conference is to say, look, I want to bring along a client company. Can I get a free ticket? Then, you know, well done you. I don't know, we're getting flashbacks. Okay. Good. Market a candidate. Publish a white paper. You know, you guys need to be seen as the authority, the go-to people, and your consultants need to be seen as the go-to people within their sectors and industries. One of the quickest ways to gain authority is to publish, is to write a white paper, serious event or commentary on your industry, your sector, your niche, and publish it. And that's something that you could send to those people. So, you know, it's something to look at, and it's something I might actually cover off in another one of these webinars. Any testimonials you'll get, good testimonials, and not chapter and verse. You're looking for sound bites that somebody could, if they saw the sound bite, they could click on to get, you know, the full testimonial. Really, really good thing. So we used to invite clients and prospects to presentations from a HR legal expert. Was very good, especially if regulations changed. Definitely, I will endorse that. You know, where I've done legal, because I've been asked to train legal, and never touch it because I've always found it's mind-numbing, some of the information. If you can find a great legal presenter that makes the subject come alive, it's a brilliant thing to do. But also, Si's point, if you align with that type of expert and you introduce that expert, Jonathan, I would say to you, definitely, I've used it. There's another company, really, really good company. Oh, I'm sorry, it's kind of escaping me, but it's a couple of large companies that I know that do a regular. It's not Michael Page, somebody, and they do a regular one of these, and it's like a, you know, it's a breakfast forum that they do. They do them physical, so that's a really good thing. But I would say to you, with the technology in terms of Google Plus, WebEx, and GoToWebinar, really good thing for you to get these guys on a call. I'm going to be doing more of that, getting some guest speakers on. We may get people like Michael Moonsinger on and a couple of others that I really, really want to get on a call and ask them questions. It will give you a flavour of how they can work. So if you're unfamiliar with it, talk to me or watch the next ones that come up, and let's start doing them. Okay. Final things, seasonal ideas. Again, it may not work for your business, but I've seen them work very, very well in other people's business. Do you think people have time to read white papers, Jonathan? Do you know what the interesting thing is? No, I don't. I don't think they'll read the full thing. But you know that thing I talked to you about, thud factor, not FUD factor, Elmer Fudd factor. It's that authority. You know, if you can say that we've published white papers, you may get people reading them, you may not get people reading them, but the fact that you publish them presents you or positions you as an authority within your field. You'll get some real geeks. I mean, I write some of these things, and I get people that will read the whole thing through and challenge or question, or, you know, ask me about something that I've forgotten because I've written it so long ago or whatever. But Si, good, impressive, man. 30, John, it's mail opt-in for white paper, you can capture the information. Si, you're way ahead of the curve, man. He's telling you it's a good thing to do. Right, seasonal ideas. I was talking to a couple of masterminds about Office Angels, believe it or not. Office Angels, absolutely hands down, have got this client engagement piece down to a T. Remember what Office Angels are about. It's not your markets, it's office, it's secretarial, etc. They have a chocolate angel that they produced, tiny little chocolate angels that they drop off to client companies. Do you think Roy will do a Michael Caine impression? We might do. We might end it today on that one. Okay. I'll tell you a funny story right at the end. Right, I'm going to do the final bit, right? So seasonal, Easter, Christmas, Pancake Day, obscure celebrations. The obscure celebrations thing came up because I saw basically every single day of the year is a national day or an international day of something. All right, so if you can find what that is, it's just quirk, right? It's just a quirky thing. So, you know, if you put an announcement out, it's like, I don't know if you knew this, but today is International Glasses Wearing Day or something like that, and post something up. It's just different, right? Just different. Final thing is, I read a great book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, written by a guy called Chet Holmes. I reread the book after a long time of not reading it. And Chet Holmes talks about these quirky gifts. So he's talking about physical mailing, and he did campaigns. So you know, he'd find these gifts, and you know, they could brand them up as well if you found them, you know, in quantity. Magnifying glasses and calculators and dice and measuring tapes, playing cards, etc. And he would send them out, and you know, attached to it would be a letter. So if it was a measuring tape, it's like, look, you know, how do you measure, I don't know, success within your business? You know, and it might sound like a really cheesy line, but what he was getting was a lot of people that were actually expecting these little gifts, and it will give them something to think about. Now, I don't know whether that will work for your business or all of your businesses, but I quite like the idea. So I'm starting to kind of think about, well, how can I use that in my business? So the magnifying glass is like, you know, or even a torch was one. It was like, shine a light on, you know, this particular area. The calculator was, how much money are you losing, or, you know, in this particular thing. So I just know where I've seen those work before, they've worked very, very well, but they're not for everybody. They're not for everyone's market. The whole point about this was to get just some ideas and some thinking going on. So guys, look, we've reached the end of, thanks, most of the 30 were existing local clients. It doesn't matter actually, Si, because the 30 existing just gives you a platform. You then bring people into that, and they're in there and they're able to see 30. It's like, wow. So then they'll tell their friends, this is a really quality event. Roy, would you do a Michael Caine impression? I will tell you, actually, I watched Zulu with my 11-year-old, the film with Michael Caine and Stanley Baker. What an absolutely brilliant film. So I watched it as a kid. I watched it probably every Boxing Day, you know, growing up. But I watched it with Louis, and he loved it. And I just remember there was that classic line in there, isn't there, with Michael Caine? I know everyone does the Michael Caine, you know, I thought I told you to only blow the bloody doors off. But in that film Zulu, there was a brilliant thing in their mud pies or something. Oh, do carry on. I love Michael Caine in that film, absolutely priceless. Anyway, listen, we are rambling on. It has felt like just a hangout with a couple of mates taking the taking the piss, but I've had some fun. It's I think we've gone over. You can do. I've just read the great book, and then you have 5 to give away. Oh, okay. You can do. I have just read this great book, right? Be it or similar, and have 5 to give away to email response. Send the 5 out and then call everyone. So I'm loving this. I'm loving the fact that you've just come up with that idea. I'm going to try and set something up in the forum as a discussion, or actually there's a LinkedIn group now which I've created, Recruitment Mastermind. Si, you're on it. Agree, we get to speak to 1 in 3 prospects who we send you know, John, you've just bore it out. You know, it's just a way of engaging with people, and the physical mailer is just different. You know, I think sometimes people can kind of like, you know, the emails go into an inbox, and then it's like, oh, okay, don't open that. But something that you receive in the post, it's so unusual now to get things sent that you know, it just, wow, it kind of just shocks them a little bit. It's out of their normal domain and realm. I hope you enjoyed my Michael Caine impression, Jonathan. I'm not up to scratch, but I'll keep working on it, and I'll come back to you on that one. I do love Caine. Alfie, what a brilliant Ipcrest file, what a brilliant, and even that Harry Brown as well. Was it Harry Brown? Some film he did not a long time ago. Batman, brilliant. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop this broadcast and end it. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I've got one final announcement that I want to make to all of the members. We've had a few masterminds asking about recruitment software solutions. Most of you I know have got it. It's been emotional. Brilliant, thank you. I've managed to secure an invitation for all of the masterminds, but I'm presuming, UK-based ones, it'll be easier for you guys to do it. But there is a recruitment technology and supplier showcase. Love Get Carter. Absolutely brilliant. A recruitment technology and supplier showcase on the 5th of June in London. And this is hosted by my good friend Louise Triance. I'm in tears. My good friend Louise Triance at UK Recruiter. She's doing the Recruitment Technology and Supplier Showcase. I love Louise, right? She does put on good events. To book your place, all you need to do, I was going to say, click here. You've been sent it in an email, but I'll try and find another way to get it to you. But use the code ROYGUEST. So you put in a code of Roy Guest to book your place, and there's no deposit. In fact, there's no fee. I think it's a free. I don't know. We'll check it. But if you're interested in software, if you're interested in recruitment technology, it's a chance for you to get people. Thank you for the impressions. You're most welcome. I'll work on them as well. I do actually have some good impressions, so I will think about that for next time. But if you're interested in looking at these technology, it's a great place that you can go and you don't have to commit to anything. You invite someone into your office and you kind of feel a little bit obliged, and they're going to be closing hard. But go along to an event like that where they're having to show loads of different recruitment business owners, just get to look, observe, view. Even the companies that you've chosen, so people like RDP Pro, I would assume are going to be there, but it's a chance for you to maybe catch up with them and ask them some questions about your own software. Anyway, I'm rambling on and on. Have a great Easter, all of you. Remember, work hard on your recruitment business, not just in it. And just as a throwdown, after this session, I really would like you to think about an action. If you haven't got that prospect list, client prospect list of your 15 to 20 targets for this, this coming 12 months, get it in place. If you've got that, start building a dossier for each one with all of the tips and strategies that we've come up with on this session and your own. And then finally, that 12 contact, that 12 touch plan. Devise it, design it, get your teams working on it, and then start working it. I'm really looking forward to finding out your results. Have a great Easter, not too much chocolate. Enjoy yourselves, and I will catch up with you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.